Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Speed Street Podcast. If you're a first-time listener, my name is Connor Daly. I drive the number 76 Juncos Hollinger Racing Chevrolet in the NTT IndyCar series. I appreciate you being here with my co-host Chase Holden as well. Chase is a motor racing fan. Chase knows a lot about a lot of things, and is slowly becoming a bigger and better IndyCar fan as we go through this process. I am once again at the Chevy Simulator in Charlotte, so I'm in my safety pod. I'm in my launch pad room, soundproof, of course. I am seeing other IndyCar drivers walking by me because the Ed Carpenter Racing team is also here. Christian Rasmussen, Alex Rossi have been perusing by as there's two simulators here. There's the motion sim and then there's the static sim. We are on the static sim today. They are on the motion sim. Who knows? Maybe I wasn't supposed to say that information, and if I get in trouble, well, it wouldn't be the first time. So there we are. But we have a race to talk about. We have a lot of controversy, a lot of things that I'm sure people will be upset about. Mm-hmm. Some drivers that were upset with each other, which provided some wonderful internet activity. So let's get into it. There's a lot to talk about with this race. There's a lot I want to address as well. There were some hybrid things that I think people need to understand, some issues, some people that were, talking about having to retire cars because of the hybrids. So let's just get right into it. Let's go through the results. I'll explain a little bit what happened during our weekend, but let's just get right into the results. Alex Palou, obviously winner. Easy enough to kind of predict that. But Pato O'Ward got the pole. So we were thinking, hey, this might be Pato's day. McLaren front row. Really impressive run from both of those drivers, Pato O'Ward and Christian Lundgaard. But still, Alex Palou nailed the strategy. It was all about what tires were you on at the right time, and Alex nailed it. Pato did lead the most laps. Alex only led the ones that he needed to. So 3-stop strategy. I know we were talking about a 4-stop strategy might have been in play. Nolan Siegel was the only one who tried the 4-stop strategy, and it did not work. It very much did not work because the red tires lasted far longer than people thought. So Alex Palou, Pato O'Ward, Christian Lundgaard was the podium. Colton Herta right back to his running at the front ways. Didn't quite have enough for the front three. Felix Rosenqvist, who was in my top 3 prediction, finished 5th. Looks like he ran out of fuel right as he crossed the line. Will Power 6th, coming from the back. Will Power, honestly, never saw him the whole day. And he just had an incredible strategic run forward. They pitted the right times. They were fast at the right times. In races that go green like this, you have to get open track when you can get it and be extremely fast when you have it. So Will Power nailed it. Marcus Armstrong, Kyle Kirkwood, Alex Rossi, Scott Dixon, Graham Rahal, Christian Rasmussen, Joseph Newgarden, 13th. Santino Ferrucci, 14th. Kiffin Simpson, 15th. Me, 16th. Rinus VK, 17th. David Malukas, 18th. Nolan Siegel, Devlin DeFrancesco, Marcus Ericsson, Robert Schwartzman, Stingray Robb, Louis Foster, Jacob Abel, Callum Ilott, and Scotty Mack finishing dead last after a bit of a hybrid issue, a bit of a coming together with another driver. What a day. A lot going on, a lot to talk about. Chase, before I get into my race, but I want to get your initial thoughts on the race itself. What did you find interesting? Obviously there were some Fox issues, we know, but was it a tough race to watch? What did you think?
From the fans' perspective, I mean, I've heard a lot of people say that this was a boring race. However, I am one of those people. I like strategy. I am watching almost a different race 9 times out of 10 because of the data that I'm watching along with the on-track product. So for me, I mean, it was exciting as always. And yeah, the blackout is definitely something that we can kind of get into. There's been a couple of articles that have come out that have kind of explained a little bit about what happened. and talk about that. But man, I'm going to tell you this: the Alex Palou McLaren battle saved this race. That was one of the most intense battles. I mean, you talk about Alex Palou just coming up the track with like a golden sword of justice, just ready to just slice and dice. That was so fun to watch. I was on the edge of my seat. I was just like, could not believe what I was watching, because I was like, there's no way this dude is that good. Like, he's good, and we know he's good, but it
was good from both of them. Good from both of those guys. Like, that was good racing.
Yes, good hard racing. So for those that want to, say that, oh, this track is not that great, the evolution of it is still continuing. We don't know what could happen and what can come with new infrastructure stuff, with new improvements to the track overall. I thought that it was a great ending to a second year race. We'll put it that way. I mean, this is only year 2. There's still a lot more room for improvement. So for me personally, the blackout definitely kind of left a lot of people sour, but it was made up for big time with that Alex Palou battle.
Yeah, I mean, I'm only about a third of the way through the broadcast because I had to fly directly to Charlotte on Monday morning and haven't got a chance to watch the full race back yet. But I still think there are definitely some improvements to make on the Fox side, and I want to give them a lot of credit. I'm sure this is not an easy business. All of us racing fans, I'm a racing fan included, we all want the greatest entertainment forced into our eyes as soon as possible. Like that's just, everyone's greedy. We all want it, and we also care so much about this sport, so we want to see it do well. But we can talk a little bit about that, coming up once we kind of get through the meat of the race. But
for sure, I'll
talk a little bit about my weekend. First off, we definitely knew this was going to be a challenging weekend for us, as we didn't test at Barber. We were one of the teams that did not test at Thermal either. So there's a couple. We are one of the only teams that has not done an extra test day yet. We are testing this week at the Indy GP circuit, along with the Chip Ganassi racing team and Foyt, as well as one coin car, I think. But knew it was going to be a challenge. And the first couple practices, the first practice actually was very challenging. The balance was definitely not what I wanted in the car, the way the car handled, the way the car felt on track. The primary tire was definitely a challenge to get grip out of, as it turned out to be the rest of the weekend. We did get to run a set of reds, though, in that at the end of the FP1 session, and that was a huge improvement. You go almost 2.5, almost 3 seconds faster than what you were doing on the primary tire, which is such a massive difference. And was feeling optimistic on the red tire, but everyone thought that the red tire was not going to last. We get some information from Firestone about, the working areas of what temperature, if the tire's more temperature sensitive than the previous red tire, or obviously there wasn't a red tire last year, but compared to other red tires. And so with it being so hot, I think a lot of people assumed the red tire would degrade quite aggressively. Right. And we still thought that through the warm-up. Some people did. I thought that because of just the information that we had, but a lot of us were wrong. Openly, we could admit that. But when it came to qualifying, we were prepared to run red because we were not really necessarily super confident in our pace. So we wanted to get 2 runs on the reds to make sure that we were able to get enough out of it. And sure enough, the very first lap on my very first set of reds was my best lap of that session. I myself was getting so much speed out of the car that I just thought I could get a hair more, and we might have overheated the tires just for the last corner of the lap, and lost about 2.5 tenths in the last corner. And so, mistake on my side, and that's, we only needed a tenth to transfer. So really difficult to know that, because I always, as I think I've always proven, like, happy to take responsibility for for anything that goes on. And, I think we could have done it just, a little bit different, but it came down to me. I had a good enough lap going to transfer there, but still, we had a good qualifying, a solid qualifying, far better than we were in St. Pete. Rolling off 15th, I think we could be really proud of that. And we knew we had more in it. So, getting to the warm-up, though, the next morning, the warm-up was at about 64 degrees or 65 degrees at 8 in the morning, the craziest time ever to run a warm-up when the race is going to be almost a 45-degree track temperature difference.
Yeah.
That is insane. And we basically just weren't sure what we could take from the warm-up. We did not know if the primary tire was going to last longer. Was the red tire really going to go off? You could see some people running the red tire a long way, but we're like, but there's only 25 minutes in the warm-up, so there isn't really enough time to run a full stint on the red tire. And so there was this huge mindset that the reds aren't going to last. The reds aren't going to last. Could be a 4-stop, could be. But we were all very wrong. The grid, too, very split on tires. We started on primaries, and about half the field started on reds. We thought that there was going to be a ton more people starting on reds to get rid of them. We were wrong. So there's all kinds of different thoughts going on here. And at the start, it was a real brutal one for us. I hated getting locked down on the inside, and our primaries. The primary tire was our biggest weakness, and it was when it was cold and our tire pressures, we started probably a little bit too low. It was a brutal first lap. We got a little bit side horned, fender blasted, which again, no one's fault. That was just, that's motor racing on the first lap. You're going to get hit sometimes.
Sure.
No one to blame there. Just happened to find myself on the outside of turn 2, try to make it happen. Got a little fender blasted by another vehicle. We really only lost like one spot because we lost 2 spots, I think. And then I was just in defense mode the whole rest of that stint. Our primaries were bad. We were slow on the primaries and just fought through. We got undercut like crazy. The undercut was working wonders. All the Penske cars undercut like crazy. And we just basically tried to push as long as we could on the black tires because we didn't actually know we could make it very far on the red tires. So we put on our new set of reds then, and we were hauling the mail. When we got on the new reds, we were ripping, and it felt terrific. I don't think I can describe to people how different of a race car this is, and I'm sure other drivers felt this as well. The difference between the primary and the red tire is outstanding. I mean, completely different feel, completely different race car. Your race car comes to life. And I mean, we were going multiple seconds faster. We were like the 5th fastest car on track for a long time during that stint. Had to pass at least a few cars. We basically fell so far back from the pack that I had to pass Marcus Ericsson, which I will put the video on social media here very soon, if not today. So you'll see it. Probably one of the best passes of my entire road racing career. On Marcus Ericsson, which I saw him after the race and we had a fun chat about it, but definitely one of my proudest passes on a road course, difficult road course to pass on. And then we ran down the entire next pack in front of us, which was 12th to 16th. So we basically ran down the entire field. It was Dixon, Newgarden, Ferrucci, Christian Rasmussen, and got all the way to the back of those guys during that stint. Felt really good. And then we went straight back to used reds again and continued to make progress. Past Louis Foster, past David Malukas, continued to push past Santino Ferrucci. But then Santino put on new reds for the last stint. I had new primaries, or I think he must have been on reds the last stint, and I was on primaries. Or he was just better on the primaries. Not sure, honestly. Do you know, Chase, if he was on reds at the end? Do you know?
So I'm looking right now. Ferrucci was on reds at the end of this race.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so he was on used reds as well. He had his fastest lap during that stint.
Yeah, any reds were better than the primaries. And Santino, actually, oddly enough, we had a good race together. I actually passed him at a pretty difficult – I had a great pass on Santino after he had gone off the track. But he got me back on the reds because the reds were incredible. We had to go to new primaries for our final stint. And also, I do believe we probably could have taken advantage of an undercut maybe earlier in the race or even at some point. because we never had to save fuel the entire race. I basically was full on qualifying laps all day long. And Kevin Simpson, I got to give those guys credit. They pulled off an incredible story. We thought they were going to run out of fuel, and he somehow made it. And I have no idea how they made it, but kudos to those guys, because we thought we were going to kind of net out to 15th, or he was going to do the 4-stop and have to pit again. But clearly there was more fuel that was able to be saved, because people were making some crazy undercut strategies work, and we didn't do it. We didn't do the undercut. So finishing 16th for us, honestly, it's not that great, but we're, one better than St. Pete. We qualified better than St. Pete. For us, we're just stacking away, small points, hauls here and there. I honestly, I know people are like, oh, that's not that great. In this series right now, when you're beating some of the guys that we're beating and we're racing some of the people that we're racing, I think we can be pretty. If you knew kind of the situation that we were in and how many, how this group is just gelling together, it makes me excited about it. Racing, this is a hard sport. As I've said so many times, put that on the title of our podcast, like racing is hard.
Hard sport.
Prema is a new team, right?
Right.
They have gone through their difficulties. It takes time in this sport to have everything go together. And I know I've got experience in this series, but this team, me with this group, we are still so fresh into this relationship. And honestly, to qualify where we did at Thermal, which again, I did not race there last year, did not get to do anything there last year. I tested in 2023, and both Renus and I we were like 2 seconds off the pace in Thermal the first test we were there. So nowhere near the same car that we had, different tires. So, and we see Scott McLaughlin talk about it a little bit later in his in our interview with him. But when you miss time and you kind of have to have a little bit of catching up to do, it's very difficult to get up to pace. So I was actually quite proud of our effort as a team. We know exactly where we can be better. We need to be better on the primary tires. We were not fast enough on the primary tire. We know that is the difference right now in our cars, and we will continue to try to bolster our mechanical grip to attack that. So that was our performance. We can get to the overall race now.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what it looked like. I actually passed more cars than I thought I would. I'll go ahead and say that now. I thought that I was able to pass more cars than I expected to. However, at the beginning, I was so slow, and I saw the train of cars behind me, and I know they couldn't pass me. So I was like, ooh, maybe this is going to be difficult for other people. But it just made the strategies work so well. Were you able to see that on the broadcast at all, Chase? How much the field shifted because of the undercutting that was happening?
Yeah, there was a lot of race off pit road action. We'll put it that way. And for me, I get excited about that because that's where everything starts to change up. I think the biggest stories here were obviously that everyone can make the statement like, oh, it's a snooze fest, it's a parade, whatever you want to call it. That's where the action happened, is from getting on pit road, getting off pit road, and how things cycled out, changing the tires up. Those are the things you got to be eyeing and watching here, and that's what makes it exciting. Now, the one thing I did want to ask you about the hybrid system. Obviously, this was a big issue. It was hot out there. We all know that dry, hot weather in California. Did you guys have any of those issues, and what do you kind of make of this, or just kind of a good way to explain this for the fans?
Yeah, maybe that's a good time to get into it. There definitely was some issues. So to explain to people a little bit, we were given for this weekend. I don't want to mess up the terminology. We're given more energy to use, essentially. So the ability to use the hybrid a little bit more than, let's say, at St. Pete. So for example, in St. Pete, the ideal place to use the hybrid was a full burn out of the last corner and full burn out of turn 9. The double right-hander basically onto the two long straights. So you use the auto regen for all the other corners. You have 100% battery for the deployment down the front straight, and then you get to 100% regen for a deployment out of the double right onto the back straight around the water. Whereas at this track, we had 5 deployment zones that essentially you could use. You could deploy for basically a second and a half out of turn 9. You could do a full deployment out of turn 14, which is the last corner before the alternate timeline. You could do a full deployment out of turn 1 and a full deployment out of turn 6 onto the back straight. So
wow,
a lot of deployment zones for us this weekend. So the hybrid was being used and utilized quite a lot more aggressively. And everything was fine until about, I want to say it was after the first stint, or maybe towards the end of the first stint. I had got a radio message to say we need to stop using the hybrid, like full on. Well, actually, the first one was only to use the hybrid out of maybe 2 turns, and instead of 4. So reduce the hybrid, and then it was okay. Now we can't use the hybrid at all. So there definitely was some management of the hybrid unit. Once we got around the middle of the race, I could basically use the hybrid just in 2 places out of turn 1 and 6, which are obviously very important for defense and attack. But yes, there was definitely some temperature issues, I would say, with that hybrid. Thankfully, we made it okay, but we did limit our usage pretty aggressively. You know, I could use it to attack and defend still, like in 6 and in out of 6 and out of 1, but other than that, we had to be pretty careful with it. So there is going to need to be some research done on that. And I was also told over the radio that other cars were doing the same thing. Obviously, Scott McLaughlin, that was his issue as well, that eventually took him out, it seemed like. But yeah, kind of a shame to see that happen, but we are putting it through its paces. I mean, at the end of the day, if one car did actually, retire because of that, not terrible. I did notice, though, that I was watching, or I was looking at the internet, and I saw that like Ed Carpenter had been told to retire one of their cars because of the hybrid, I believe, which that's a wild move. I didn't know that was going on. Ed obviously made the call to not do that, which I think every point counts, obviously, as he knows, as they were fighting for the leader circle a couple times in a row. But yeah, I'm curious to see what happens at the next event. That was definitely an interesting one.
Yeah, I also heard too. I mean, like obviously, the system itself, and I didn't know if this maybe had anything to do with it because of the heat or overheating, but like apparently you can use a hybrid and push to pass, simultaneously
at the same time. Yeah.
So that right there was what was leading me to thinking, okay, maybe there's some guys that are doing that, and that's a lot on the car with the heat. So a lot of different areas that it could be done.
Yeah, he was definitely playing a factor. But when it comes down to the racing, so let's talk about, I saw some of those clips, and I think the one you mentioned with Lundgaard and Palou.
Yes.
I have such a struggle with, people saying that the race is boring because, looking at the broadcast so far, I've only watched a third of it, but like I know that I had some pretty cool passes on people. And again, we were not fighting at the front, though, racing towards the mid pack. Obviously, we were in the mid pack probably that whole time. I mean, Dixon was one car in front of me. Graham was like, we were in that pack of people. And I saw several passes, and there was a lot of, there were cars that were slowing down on tire pace and then cars passing them. So I know that TV likes to focus on the leaders, like the stars, and they usually pay the most money. Like they have the biggest sponsors, all that stuff. But I truly believe that we need a TV partner that is someone's out there scoping that, hey, there's 7 cars nose to tail. The car in front is struggling on the primary tires. You got to watch this group.
Yes.
That happened with Santino Ferrucci at the lead of our group at one point. Once he got passed by one person, he went off the track. He got passed by everyone. But it's action. And it's something that I think our commentators would really enjoy because they call, Will Buxton and Townsend and Hinch, they called a great battle between Lundgaard and Palou, which is great for the top 3. That's huge. But I truly just believe that there's more out there, and I know that there is more to be seen. I watched at the beginning of the race, there was a little bit of a cool pit out sequence with Scott McLaughlin and Graham Rahal for like 21st position. Okay, great. And we know those are big names, but there's other people out there. There's big names. I mean, I was, the pack in the middle of the pack was Newgarden, Dixon, me, like Graham, like that, the pretty decent
a lot
names
going on there.
Townsend Bell and those guys, they love Santino Ferrucci. He was in that battle too. You know what I mean? David Malukas, young, powerful fella. I mean, I do believe that there was more going on than it might appear. And I just wish that they would either show replays of it or we could see that stuff, because I know, look, this track, I do believe that it's a really difficult place for us to race. I don't understand fully. Well, I am willing to give it a shot. Of course, I think, hey, I enjoyed the race more than I thought. I thought it was the longest day ever. I thought it was the hottest day ever. I thought it was challenging, but I enjoyed more overtaking than I expected. I would have loved a full course caution to maybe kind of spice things up a little bit, but I do believe that if we were forced to choose between this racetrack and maybe another racetrack, let's say a short oval or even another road course, I don't believe Thermal is the place that shouts IndyCar racing, but I don't believe it deserves the hatred that it does get. I do know that fans, there's a lot of anger towards it just because it's like, hey, if you can't go here because it's expensive, I understand that. Like I really do, and it's sad, but there was some great people out there, some great fans that were there, and there were some, a lot of great interactions that we had. I'm fully down to support an event because we go there as part of our championship. Do I agree that we need to be there in the future? I don't know. I think the race, there was some fun racing. I do believe that. What we saw between Alex Palou and Christian Lundgaard too, I mean, that's an epic battle. That's 30 seconds or 45 seconds of activity, but that's a lot for a road race. I mean, we didn't have that at St. Pete. I mean, and everyone loves St. Pete. So I don't like the aggressive comparisons for racing style and boring or whatever, but like, I thought there was a lot more racing than I expected. I passed way more cars at Thermal than I did at St. Pete. And
there you go.
And it finished one position better than we did at St. Pete, but there was no attrition, which is also difficult. So I don't know. This is a tough one for me, but I still think I would agree with people that if we need to put another race on the schedule, I think I would take that other race over Thermal, but I didn't hate the racing when the tires were going off because once people struggle on tires, I mean, it's such
that's where you take advantage.
Exactly. So
the triple box for me is what I think could change it up. Cause like you were saying, you hit the nail on the head. You need to be able to showcase what's going on more than just the front. And you can watch other types of races where they'll have like a triple box that's set up here. This triple box will be showing you battles happening in mid-pack, towards the back, and in the front. And that's got to come with time. And I feel like maybe we're a little too harsh because we still got to realize, like, okay, Fox is in this second race, but at the same time, there's been so much buildup that
I know. Yeah, I get so jazzed up about seeing racing. Like, I don't care where it is on the track. I don't care. I know who's leading the race. I know. If he's got a 3-second lead, I know he's probably still going to be there unless something is happening. You know what I mean? Pato was just driving around saving tires for the whole first stint. And there was at least there was definitely some camera work in the first stint. Now I got to watch the rest of the race, but after watching St. Pete, I still think that if there's a close pack of cars, if there's have someone maybe on the team that understands tire wear, like, hey, that person's on the primary is looking weak. You need to show that pack because there's a bunch of people with better tires behind them and it's going to get exciting. So I hope to see more of that. I do believe that there is an opportunity to show more racing and more action on track. But you know what? It was Alex Palou's day overall. Tough issues for the hybrid. But we also, we decided, of course, this week to not interview the winner because we just interviewed Alex Palou.
Right.
We went with the last place finisher, which Chase suggested to us, which I thought was a good idea. It just happened to be a Penske driver, of course. Yeah. So Scott McLaughlin is coming up in a little bit, and we've got to talk a little bit about his beefy issue with Devlin DeFrancesco. I thought that was one of the funniest internet videos I've ever seen in my life. And I'm glad we have Scott here to talk about it. I'm sure some people are going to be like, hey, we need to hear Devlin's side too. I understand that. Obviously, I think a lot of people know how I feel about Devlin. Nice kid. His dad was a supporter of mine as well in my career. Very thankful for that. But I've had my run-ins with Devlin as well. But this was, in my personal opinion, when I look at this incident and to explain it to people, I think the majority of the internet does see the same thing. But the race hasn't started yet, as Scott will explain. It is, as the car on the outside, I was on that, outside, which is then on the inside for the first corner. I was on that same side of the track for the start. Slippery. You can't get too wide out there at all. But there was room on the inside. When I looked at Scott's onboard, I was like, oh, there's a ton of room on the inside. There's just enough, right? That's all you need. But also, you got to know that it's not, the race hasn't started yet either. So you don't necessarily, you almost have another quarter and a half to go and time to catch the pack. So, probably, the fault is on Devlin on that one. And it wasn't the overtaking car because this wasn't the race that had begun yet, but technically the responsibility is always on the car coming from behind first and foremost. That's what they tell us in race control. The responsibility is on the overtaking car, which technically would be Devlin coming from behind down the inside. So, that was really tough to see. I had no idea that happened until after the race. Not a clue in the world. Didn't have a clue. And to be fair to Devlin, he was pretty quick at times this weekend. He had some pace in the car. He went off again later in the race. Actually, he was behind me, and I saw him go off in a big way. So really rough day for him overall. Had no idea he could yell that loud. I like when Scott came after him, that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen because Scott getting mad is very funny. I've seen it before, and Scott's got a great personality, but then Devlin went off like a rocket ship. He went off like a firecracker, a bottle rocket.
Dude, he had it in him.
Just started the shouting match. I mean, what was your read on that? I thought it was the greatest thing I've ever seen. One of the greatest things I've ever seen.
Anytime we get Scotty Mac beef sound bites, dude, I'm all in because we know Scott, and he's just got that temper about him. But yeah, with Devlin, I don't know much about Devlin DeFrancesco. So I've never met him personally, never shook his hand. So I've seen him out and about, but getting to see that on the television, I'm like, all right, he's got a little bit of that flame lit up in him, and you can't really discredit that. So anytime we get the shouting matches, anytime you get just to hear just on repeat, just you're stupid, you're stupid, you're stupid.
Oh man,
it's great.
What I just when you immediately say, go watch the video, or look at my video.
Hey, the tape.
That's going to be a tough one because Scott's got the onboard camera. Like a lot of people saw it. I think we'll hear Scott's opinion on it, obviously in our interview with him. But that was a tough look for young Dev there. Again, he's had some pace this year. He he does look to have improved himself as a driver. But hey, it was just a funny moment to see. I thought it was hilarious. Tempers flaring. Guys, we care about what we do. Drivers care about what they do. They're heated up after the race. This is what passion about a sport is all about. You can't fault either one of them for this because guess what? You would be upset too. I can promise you that if that happens.
Absolutely.
So that was hilarious. Before we get to Scott, I got to shout out all the folks, the facilities, the folks at Thermal, like the casitas that we stayed at. pickleball courts. I mean, it was very nice, and the people treated us really well there. The restaurant there, I mean, the food that we got served there was fantastic, and we were very lucky to get that. So I shout out to those folks. It was a truly, from a driver and team standpoint, I believe it was a pleasure to be there. And that was a lot of fun. Saw a lot of pickleball. I'm going to put up a vlog again after this race, and there's going to be some funny behind the scenes activities. Maybe some folks playing pickleball, some of the boys playing pickleball. That was pretty funny. But yeah, getting back to the race, the Fox blackout thing, I don't know much about that. I know that our ratings were bad too. Like let's be honest. Let's be real with ourselves, folks. We were directly up against NASCAR and the NCAA tournament. Those are two large things to be fighting against. And if our broadcast went out in the middle of it too, and they switched over to NASCAR, I think a lot of people will get this who have followed this sport a long time. It's like the most IndyCar thing that could have ever happened. Like just the most IndyCar thing that could have ever happened. It just seems like just something ridiculous and something just happens to our series or something goes like that. And you're just like, oh my gosh, we need to eliminate things. We really do. We need to eliminate these things. I did watch a David Land video and he said that it did actually happen before on the very first NBC broadcast. It has happened before, I believe, which was interesting to hear. I didn't know about something like this before, honestly. I have not heard of watching in the middle of the race and it just disappearing.
Definitely it's tough.
Yeah, that was not good.
And I'll say that I heard it was a failed circuit breaker is what happened at Thermal. That was according to a Racer magazine article written by Marshall Pruitt. So, kind of case closed at this point. I mean, it sounds like circuit breaker. That's kind of a track thing. And, you can point fingers all day long. The thing is making sure these things, don't happen in the future. I made a quick video. I myself was freaking out and I was just like, hey, mistakes happen. I get it.
Yeah.
And it's just making sure that we do everything it takes moving forward to make sure with the tracks, with the TV booths, with the series, that these things don't happen. And it will get better. It will get better in time because once you got to make a mistake to know not to make it again. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I do believe it will get better. I think that, some of the graphics packages and I think some of the other things that people were, I still love the driver intros thing. The driver intros clip that they do is really cool with the drivers. I think that's great for showcasing driver person, just getting to know the drivers a little bit more. I think there's going to be more and more as we continue to go here. But that was tough to hear. I got out of the car and it was so hot and so difficult. I got 2 blisters on the hands this time.
Oh my God, dude, got the Nelly face band-aids on the hand.
Oh yeah, definitely. We're bandaged up. Full green race the whole day. Definitely might have to change my steering wheel grip. Sometimes that'll affect things. But after I kind of got a little cooled down, my girlfriend Amy was like, "So you'll never believe what happened." And I was like, "What happened?" She's like, "The broadcast went out in the middle of the race." I was like, "No way." But you know what? I truly believe I'm behind these folks with Fox. I think that, as long as they're up for, taking some advice on what's going on, I think we believe in what they're doing for us. We believe in the advertisement. We believe in, the excitement. Honestly, still almost getting 800,000 people against NASCAR and the NCAA tournament. I actually consider that kind of a win for us still.
Pretty good. Not too bad.
This is coming from a IndyCar who sometimes you'll see us get like 400,000 people when it's up against anything else, when we were in the ABC days or NBC SN days, whatever it was. And our practice on FS1, much higher ratings as well. So
love that.
There was like almost 200,000 people watching practice. That's good. That's not a bad.
Here.
So let's just, we're batting down the hatches. Let's keep on trucking. We got Long Beach ahead of us, which is an iconic event, and we'll see. So with that, I think we should get to Scotty Mack, the last place finisher at the Thermal Grand Prix. Honestly, really, it's actually cool to hear from such a powerhouse team and driver after a struggle. I think that's just a different vibe. So let's get to our interview with Scott McLaughlin, driver of the Thirsty 3 wagon for Team Penske. Ladies and gentlemen, this week we went with a completely different situation as per normal. We've got to a situation where we've interviewed Alex Palou too many times. He has won far too many races. Congrats to him, by the way. Very dominant day. And Chase actually brought this up last week. He said, what if we interviewed the last place finisher instead? And sure enough, this race happened to be a race where almost everyone finished the race. There was very little attrition. And sure enough, we have another Penske driver here to talk to. Scott McLaughlin, last place finisher. This isn't a dig at you. This is literally just what we wanted to get your thoughts on your day.
No,
and there seemed to be a lot of controversy that you were involved in as well. So how you doing, brother?
Well, you know me for a long time now, Connor, and I'm not afraid of coming forward when I need to. Probably one of the worst weekends of my IndyCar career. Just everything that went wrong, and nothing really went good. But you look at it, it's a building block. I actually felt like Sunday we had a really, really fast car. Unfortunately, we couldn't show it. I mean, I started 25 seconds off the lead, and by the end of the first stop, I was right on the tail of the field and sort of back in the game. So, I'm proud of the way that we fought, but then unfortunately we had some hybrid issues and basically the thing nearly, burnt to the ground. So, that's not ideal. But we learn from it. We go forward, and I just wish we could race this week in Long Beach.
I know. Yeah, that's when you have a tough weekend, it's immediate. You want to get right back to it. But I think a lot of people were surprised about what was going on in the Penske camp. After qualifying, all three of you guys, obviously you had a wild spin. Again, looked very cool. X Games gold medal worthy 360. Again, very cool. Coolness doesn't get you on the front row, though, sadly, not this time. No. But you guys in general, was there something about this weekend? Because, again, you were very fast last year. You finished second in the $1 Million Challenge. But what was it about this track or the new tire? Can you let people know kind of, hey, not every day is going to be the best day at Penske. This is such a competitive series.
I think the philosophy that we went with, I guess, on all three cars, probably, maybe wasn't the right one. It's tough, and if you miss it by a little bit, Connor, you're out of the game. Personally, I was disappointed with qualifying on my end, though. I think we could have got through. I felt like my car wasn't great, but it was fast enough to put a time in. The biggest problem I had in qualifying there was when I had that spin, and as we knew it was really hot, the temps of the track come up, and the spin just caught me off guard completely. I had a slide through there the whole time, and I think everyone was sliding through there, but the way that it just overdid it, it blew my mind a little bit. So yeah, thankful to have saved it, but basically, because then I had to drive through, so I never got through that area until my red lap. I never got through there flat. And as you know, if you don't, it's almost like missing practice one on a street circuit. You miss the track development, you understand, and every 10th of a second matters. So personally, I think we left a lot on the table there. I feel like I don't think I would have got pole. I don't think I would have been fast 6, but I think we could easily got through, and I think we could easily be in the 8 to 12 bracket, and then maybe fixed our car. And we had a big think about it, as at least on the 3 team for Sunday morning, and we came back with a completely different philosophy, and the car was exceptional, very, very, very good. Just unfortunately, we had nothing to show for it. So it's sometimes you miss the mark as a team. Thankfully, we've got really good engineers and people on the team that we can figure this out and get going. But unfortunately, it was too late. And you got to give props to Ganassi and Andretti. Andretti tested here, so they knew roughly where they're going to be. Guys like that put a complete weekend in, and unfortunately, we didn't. So we need to look at it a little bit more, and we'll be okay. I can hear my computer. It is blowing up about now. I think it's a bit like my hybrid right now. It's running very hot. So I had to just
that's all right.
Anyway, so it is what it is, man. So I was just more bummed at the fact that, you know, we couldn't show it, you know, because it really felt good, man. And you know what it's like when that happens. It's really frustrating.
So tell me what the vibe was like across, like in the truck, because all three of you guys, I mean, this was, I don't remember, like there was some wild stat that this was like the first time like all three Penske cars were like outside of the top. There was some crazy stat about how just difficult it was all across the board. Was there like a players only meeting like in the NFL? Was there something going on where it's like, all right, boys, we got to get our act together tomorrow, or this is what our strategy is going to be?
Oh, like we know, like I think we're all disappointed, obviously, and know that like the sticker on the door, you know, with Penske, that's not acceptable. Like the performance that we gave, especially for our partners and whatever. But you know, ultimately, the best thing about this team, and I think, you know, the way that me, Joseph, Will work, all the engineers as well, we just knuckle down and just get on with it and figure out what's best and sort of pull from each other's spec. I mean, Joseph went one way on Sunday. Will went another, sort of maybe me and Will both went one way in some ways, and we sort of got a really good idea of where everything was. And obviously looking at Will's performance, you know, that was the right idea. But like I said, we're just a little late. But that was the best thing about our team, is that you sort of just put all the best heads together, and we managed to, you know, figure out like, okay, this is the right way to go. Unfortunately, it was a little too late, but we sort of never gave up. There was no like, oh, you suck, or what a stupid car you brought, or whatever like that. It's never like that. No pointing fingers. It's just get on. That's the result. Get on with it and try and make the best of what we've been given.
Yeah, I mean, there's something about, I think, you guys as a group where I went into the, like, I somehow qualified you three guys, but I knew that during the race, I would probably never see all three of you, and all three of you would finish in front of me somehow, even if we had a good day. And sure enough, I never saw you. I saw Joseph in my mirror once, never saw Will, and Will finished sixth. And I was like, all right. I mean, I assume they had you guys nail the strategy, look at everything. The day is never over for you guys, right? Until obviously your car started melting down into nothing. But I mean, that must be an incredible feeling, because in this racing, in IndyCar racing, I think you truly, really almost always have a shot. Even on a day where it went green all the way through, like if you can strategize your way, use the clean track, I mean, that's got to be an awesome feeling for you guys.
Yeah. Look, we've got amazing crews. You know, the pit stops were like, I think our first pit stop on the 3 car was like super fast, and we made a lot of time there as well. You know, for me, I just look at that as an IndyCar thing as well, though. Like, I turned up to the track and I was like, you know, I can still finish in the top 5 in this race. Or like, you know, there's like, that's the kind of the best thing I love about the sport, is the opportunity that you have regardless of what position you start. So yeah, that you just can't give up, but you just know that you got the best guys on your side, and trust that we've gone the right way with the car. And then, you know, for me as a driver, I've got to make sure that I explain, you know, when the chips are down like it was and the car wasn't exactly the way, you know, you got to trust that, okay, there's a reason why we qualified on pole at St. Pete. Like I haven't forgotten how to drive from 2 weeks ago. It's just a matter of like explaining what I need from the car and making sure that the guys get that. Benny Bretson, my engineer, who's a stud, you know, have him, you know, understand where I'm going with it, and then we can move forward. And sometimes, you know, these days, it's nice to have a win from time to time, but I learned a significant amount this weekend that I think can be really, really good for our car on a road course, especially moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking Brettsman and the boys got a little bit too in the loony bin at the golf tournament this week. So, you know, people were saying that. Just kidding. It was
definitely not ideal to have a massive tournament and then qualify last and finish last. Definitely not ideal for the job security and whatever, but
it's not me saying that, but you know, glad the boys had a good time.
Don't worry, RP was in my ear like, you're playing too much golf, but he was all good. He jokes about that all the time.
Yeah, racing's hard still. Chase, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to get right to it, man. The fans want to know, have we talked to Devlin? Have you had any conversation with him after? That was quite the debacle that went down?
Yeah, it was quite a blow up in the pits. Like I said to you, I'm not scared. Like if I thought that was very stupid. And the fact that it wasn't before green, and I'm not afraid of coming forward and saying to someone that they're stupid. But like, I'm happy to take it myself too. I went up to Dev pretty heated. And I was pretty gobsmacked that he came at me even more.
I also was, by the way. I was like, what?
Yeah, which just sort of blew me away a little bit. And I think that's what kept me calm, because I came over pretty angry, and then I sort of like, I was like, wow, okay, I respected it. But I was
he kind of met you with that fire.
I respect it, and we all know Dev. Dev's a nice guy, man. He really is a nice guy, nice kid. But yeah, I was pissed off, and I would do the same to Connor. Honestly, if Connor was like, and he's a good buddy of mine, but if he took me out before the start of a race or something like that, I would be down there and like saying something to him. That's just who I am, and unfortunately, sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. Anyway. We did our whole debacle. That's all over online and whatever, which I
great clip,
which is great footage. And I actually didn't know Bob was there, but he was there, which I feel like he's everywhere. Incredible. But when I walked back to the truck, I texted Dev straight away. I said, when you've calmed down, you look at the footage, come and have a genuine conversation with me. And anyway, I was waiting at the truck. He texted me, and he came over and we shook hands, whatever. It's he apologized. I think the biggest, me looking back at the incident now, we were still catching the pack.
Yeah.
And as you know, it gets strung out of the back and whatever. And that corner's awkward. It's a tight corner with a fast corner with a very tight exit. So to go through there 2x2 at the speed we were going, it was never going to really work. And we had so much time to get around the corner. Anyway, I saw Dev sort of coming, and I left like a bit of room, but I'm like, oh, he'll probably back out because I have to turn at some point. Otherwise, I was going to go outside the track.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to get crap on my tires or whatever like that. So I just figured that we'll just sort it out around the corner. And then I saw in my corner eye him sort of like push up. And then once we connected, it was just an awkward angle, and then we just got interlocked. But what I said to Deb was like, we don't need to, we're second last and last. Like, we don't have to. Yeah. We can sort this out coming to the green. Like, we don't even have to be. We could be single file going to the green. Like, it doesn't matter. Let's just get to the green and sort it out. There's no rush. Anyway, so I give him credit. He came down and said sorry. I don't regret going up and saying like what I said to him, because at the end of the day, it was stupid. I think it's good for the sport. You got to have some sort of blow ups. But we move forward and. Like I said, I'd do it to, I pure passion. I'm just a fiery character from time to time and whatever.
Hey, we love it. We love it.
I was talking with actually Rossi at the airport yesterday, and we were like, oh man, how about that? How about old Scott and Dev? And Rossi was like, well, yeah, I couldn't believe what happened. And then I saw the video and I was like, yeah, no, I get that. And I saw the same thing. Like when I saw the replay, I was like, oh no, that was before the start.
Right.
And it was something that, again, awkward corner, but and also we're always told the car on the inside, or the overtaking car, which technically would have been Devin, is as that responsibility, which is why he was given the drive through so quickly. And you did leave him room, but again, that corner,
I have to make the corner too.
Yeah,
that's what I said to Dev.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I can't.
You can't
I could go. Yeah, I could
Yeah.
go outside, but I'll have all the marbles and dirt and crap on my tires. I'm trying to look after myself at the same time. And as you know, in that corner, at race speed, let alone mid speed, you can't go 2x2 through there. Really, I don't think there was one pass there on the weekend. So it's it was never going to work. And when we're second last and last, what are we doing? Robert Schwartzman behind us, he must have been laughing his head off. It's just. But anyway, look, give credit to Dev. He come and said sorry. We shook hands. We moved forward. I was pissed off, but you can't hold grudges in the sport. I'm going to come up on Dev. He's going to come up on me on an oval. You've got, and that's what I love about IndyCar. You've got to have some sort of trust with all your competitors, whether you dislike. whatever, you have to have some sort of trust, and there's no point holding grudges. It's just, it is what it is.
Well, I personally thought it was one of the greatest clips I've ever seen on the internet. Just something that, oh man, something that really I just truly enjoyed. And
because when you see yourself doing that, you're like,
yeah,
God.
But knowing you and knowing you in multiple different areas of your life, whether let's say, post race or post 27 beers, you start to see that fire. You love the Scotty heat. I mean, but then I've never seen Devlin, I don't think, shout in my life. So that was one of the funniest things too.
Like, I'll never forget, when it's probably a little aggressive, but the whole thing at Daytona happened, and I was there for him, and we're hugging it out or whatever, and I felt really bad for the kid, and then we've talked and whatever since then, and then the next biggest conversation or whatever, and I literally had driver intros. I was shaking his hand. What's up, bro? What's going on? I actually said to him, "Have you got shorter?" I think we're just joking. Yeah, but that's like a joke. Like, it's a joke.
Yeah. Fun times.
But yeah, and we're just having a laugh, and then the next time I see him, he's just yelling at me, and I'm yelling at him. It's just hug, and then the next time I see him, we're shaking hands and going, it's human life, right? Yep. It's up and down, like whatever. You can't hold grudges. Get on with it.
Hey, people, we care about what we do as racing drivers. I think if anyone thinks, oh, that's silly, why would they do that? It's because guess what? We put our lives on the line every day. We put everything into this sport. We care about what goes on out there. If you have someone that ruins your day, or someone that ruins at least part of your day, I mean, after the race, you are going to absolutely get emotional and let it fly.
And look, I was hot because if that doesn't happen, I'm probably screwed regardless because my thing blows up anyway. So I'm not but I was just, by the time I got into the pits, I was just I was irate, so
physically and metaphorically hot too. Yeah. It was hot out there.
It was hot.
Yeah, man. So well, let's look ahead. We've got a poll. Maybe not the right strategy at St. Pete. Good.
Yeah, I've covered both ends of the field.
Good strategy day. Yeah, exactly. You've covered the whole field. We've got Long Beach ahead. We know you guys are going to be fast, obviously. And now we're kind of getting into it where someone's got to beat Alex Palou. What do you got to do it?
Look, he is at the top of his game right now, but I can't control how he executes. I can only control what I can execute. And I know it sounds pretty cliche to say something like that, man, but that's how I think. Kudos to him and his team, but the way he performs doesn't affect what we do. And we didn't have a execution rate that was up to our standard from a team perspective on the car 3. We had a very, very messy day, very messy weekend, honestly. Stuff was falling off our car. There was things going on. Stuff was left on our car. I made mistakes. Team made mistakes. And we know we're better than that. I've circled Long Beach. That's a track that, I go really good on street circuits, but it's a track that I haven't gone that well at in the past, especially compared to my teammates. So, I've worked really hard in the off season to be better here, and hopefully that pays dividends. But you can't rest on your laurels. But I'm not worried about Alex right now. I mean, at the end of the day, we know he's going to be there or thereabouts. We need to execute better and put pressure on him, and hopefully, and take points off him. If we're constantly worried about him, or worried about Scott, or worried about Colton, we'll go nowhere. We need to focus on what we're doing, and the rest will look after itself. And that's how I've always thought. But yeah, they're doing a great job. But we'll see. It's IndyCar. It's going to be a random one. There could be strategy. Things happen. Yellows at wrong times. It just is what it is. I knew thermal was going to be a little bit of a snooze, just because. I mean, there's no we've got the hybrid start now. There's no way where a car can really get into trouble. There's probably most likely going to go no yellow compared to a St. Pete or maybe a Long Beach. And now with the extra laps at Long Beach, it's going to be a very interesting strategically, what you do there. Do you free safe? Do you go? Do you 3-stop? Do you 2-stop? How are the tires going to perform? So it's exciting.
Yeah, I think a lot of people love to go overreact city and be like, well, championship's over. It's like we are 2 rounds in, and there was some hybrid issues that we saw in thermal that I think for a lot of cars that might have an effect on the championship as we go, right? Obviously, our manufacturers, they'll probably sort everything out, but we are in a new era of this equipment and trying to push it to the limit. So anything can happen. We've got Indy coming up as well, which could be different. We've got the ovals, which Alex has never won at yet. So we'll see. I think he's been very strong, but very, very interested to see what's ahead. Chase, I'll let you go ahead, Scott. If you got
well, I mean, he's had the absolute perfect start, and you can obviously that's just Alex as well. But it can go one or two ways sometimes. And look, there's a lot of racing left to go. We just need to keep focused and get some points.
There you go.
Yeah. Speaking of lots of racing left, I know we got Long Beach coming up. And I mean, you basically sum up that you are all about that you versus you mentality. What are the specific areas of Long Beach that you feel like you can improve on going into the race in a couple of weeks?
To be honest, Chase, I just haven't really felt comfortable with the race car there. Sometimes you just have tracks where you just don't feel you can push the limit, especially at a place like Long Beach where you need to commit a lot over bumps, like braking and, getting close to walls and stuff. And I just don't think I've had that feeling. So, like, we're trying to find that philosophy in myself to, be better from an outright pace perspective. Ultimately just looking for a little bit more comfort in the car and that's a setup direction that we need to focus on, which we think we've got an idea that we're better, but until you rock up to the track and you feel it for the first time, you don't know. I think, it's just a matter of just putting things together and seeing where we're at. But Long Beach, I love Long Beach. I love the race. I love, I love driving the car there, but for me, it's been tough to find those last 2 or 3 tenths that I need to separate myself from being qualifying 9th or 10th and being in the fast 6 and challenging for pole and then starting the race at a better spot. I've really focused on that with Benny and obviously that's a crown jewel for us from a driver's perspective. Anyone that could win there, that's probably my second want to win place outside of Indy. It's a pretty special one, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
God, let's talk a little bit about dad life. How's the dad life going? Dad power surely showed itself in St. Pete with the pole right out the gate.
Yeah.
Are you feeling the dad horsepower? Is this something that's been extra?
It was nice to get a pole at St. Pete because, you just had that mysterious 210s that people think that you've lost. So it was good to cancel that out. But currently watching the baby monitor as we speak. She's been sleeping for about an hour and a half, and Mum's going to go get her nails done, which is as important for any lady, as we all know. So
absolutely, good man.
She's getting some mum vacation time right now. Loving it, dude. I love being a dad. It's the best. Even seeing her for the first time the other day, when I got home, it was just so cool. But she might make an appearance here soon because she's starting to move around a little bit. But hopefully we can get through this interview and be okay.
Well, I won't keep you too long. It's been awesome to honestly get your opinion because I find it. I actually almost wanted to talk to one of you guys anyway because of how difficult of a weekend it was for the team. And I just think it demonstrates so much about IndyCar, about how close kind of everyone is. If you don't have that perfect day, someone is going to be there to beat you. And it's I think one of the most impressive things about our championship. As we look ahead to Indy, right? You guys were, pretty strong last year. Yeah. The whole group, right? Maybe except for Will. Will had a tough one, but same mentality for Indy coming up ahead. We want to lock out the front row. You think you've got the same speed? Do we think that it's going to be very different with the hybrid? Do we think it's going to be a whole new challenge now?
You can't rest on your laurels at all, especially at that joint, as you know. But I think, we've got an idea of where our car. It's nice to go to Indy and have an idea of our base setup. But at the same time, with the hybrid now, the extra weight, the way that you deploy now, thankfully that Joseph did a test there along with a number of other people there, so they've got an idea of how that hybrid works a little bit, so Chevy does as well. So it's nice to have that, that idea. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I think the open test is going to be probably one of the most important open tests in a long, long time. So hopefully we get to run there, and no, I feel like the last 2 years we've been rained out, so it's hopefully we can get some good laps in. But yeah, certainly, dude, I can't wait. Like it's just everything now with Fox on board, and now they're pushing it. Yeah, it's exciting, and we can really lock in. But the idea is to go and be there with the same amount of pace that we had, and just continue to build.
Excellent. Well, Chase, I'm going to give you one more, and then we'll let Scott go.
Yeah, so I actually had a question from an anonymous YouTuber. I had a question for you. After the events this past weekend, do the fans and people have permission to give you the nickname World Star?
World Star?
World Star.
What's that mean, though?
He wouldn't know what that means, Chase.
Okay, so World Star is kind of like this site where like they show like people getting rowdy, some fights every now and then, just like dudes and chicks just in your face, random events, just like wild boying. You know what I mean? So the permission to call you World Star. Yeah,
that or Dad Star. You could say Dad Star. Maybe I don't quite have it in me.
Okay.
I think if one of us had swung, you could probably say that, but like no, it was never going to happen.
Very true. Cool. Very true.
Yeah.
I like Dad Star. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
All right, Scott. Well, thanks, man. We're gonna let you get back to dad duty. This has been a great chat. Honestly, a lot of honesty. Shout out Offspring. Shout out
he's waking up now.
The seed,
the baby. The perfect timing.
Oh, she actually just started waking up, so she almost knows. Hey, let Speed Street do their thing. You had a tough weekend, Dad. You finished last. You qualified last. Like,
hey, tell her to subscribe on the YouTube channel. So
I will.
We're gonna get Speed Street onesies. Speed Street onesies coming soon.
Like and subscribe.
I got my YouTube channel happening right now too.
Yeah. Well, let's do some co-subscriptions.
There's a new thing called Locked In coming out. Should be coming out here in the next little bit. It's a little bit of a. I mean, you're doing a vlog now. I don't even know if it's a vlog. I think it's more like of a behind the scenes of what I'm thinking of each session. So this is like actually a good one this week. So if you want to.
Okay. So, all right. So where are we at on YouTube? Is it Scott McLaughlin or where are we subscribing?
So. I think it's Scott McLaughlin, my channel. I've got like,
okay, well, you should probably know what your own channel is, but
I know I should.
That's a good start.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. But it will be on all great social channels here in the next week or so. So
awesome. Subscribe.
Shout out Brian Simpson from Stillhouse. Shout out Brian Simpson from Stillhouse.
Brian is a legend. Yeah. Brian is the man behind the incredible ideas of your brain.
Well, he just tells me stuff to do and I do it, and normally it gets one color or it doesn't. So yeah.
I like that. Yeah. Well, Scott, we appreciate you. I'm sure we'll see you at the front somehow in Long Beach. I hope to meet you on the podium. That would be a sweet one.
We're still on if you win, right? I interview you. Was that
we've been telling people that. So
no, good. I know I've seen it online. I saw Pillow trying to say something, but it's not going to work.
We're getting there. Don't worry. We're getting there. Right. We're going to get there.
All right, boys. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Hey, Robert.
Yeah, bye.
Well, we appreciate Scott McLaughlin, giving us his thoughts, being dad of the year, watching his daughter while we're recording the Speed Street podcast. Appreciate the folks that came by and said hello as well in Thermal. I handed out a few Speed Street stickers at the Thermal Club.
Nice.
Enjoyed interacting with some folks there. Saw some great race fans, and hopefully made some new race fans as well. But with that, we have a lot to look forward to this week. I'm in the sim today, straight back to Indy tonight. We're testing at the Indy GP circuit. God willing, if the weather is good enough in Indianapolis, please let it be warm enough. Please let it not rain on Thursday. That is such an important test day for us. We need testing. This group needs more and more time to continue to grow and work together. But proud of my team, proud of the pit stops, proud of everyone on our 76 wagon so far. I briefly, I don't know if I really mentioned it, but our official announcement of our partnership did come out. Cyclum Next Gen Travel Centers is on the side of the car, which is partnered with the Phillips 66 Group, which is the 76 gas station that we all know of, and a ton of them on the West Coast. Excited to have them on the side of the car for Thermal. Had them for Thermal. We will be announcing probably a different primary for the Long Beach Grand Prix. We will have a different looking vehicle for the Long Beach Grand Prix. And then I believe back to the Cyclum Next Gen Travel Centers car, number 76 for Barber, I believe as well. So some exciting stuff for us. But yeah, shout out to those folks that were with us in from Cyclone and Phillips 66 at Thermal. I'm very excited to have them. 76 gas station folks. Everyone loved the little orange gas station balls.
It's the best.
It was cool. Yeah, it was very cool. So with that, we will get to the Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week.
The greatest event of its kind has never been run on.
Let's meet the drivers. Who will make up the field?
This week, we are going way back into the history books. I love going back to the history books. We learn a lot about some people, or we just learn that names exist.
Great name.
1919, the 1919 Indianapolis 500 was won by Howdy Wilcox. We've used a couple drivers from this era before, but not the 28th place finisher. The 28th place finisher was Omar Toft. Omar Toft finished 28th. Omar Toft, not a lot on the Wikipedia about this
Not a
young
lot
man.
at all.
Not a lot at all. Born in 1886 was Omar Toft. And he basically died racing at the Arizona State Fairgrounds. That's what was said. He aged to the year of 35, ran 35. Right. Only one Indy 500 to his name. So 1919 Indy 500 was it. So
yeah.
Shout out Omar Toft. R.I.P. Omar Toft. Who would have thought that you'd be getting talked about in the year 2025, even though you passed away in the year of 1921?
Not Omar,
so,
that's for sure.
Shout out Omar. He look. There is a picture of him. Cool goggles on him. He wore a tie in the race car. I respect him.
He looks like a car salesman with bubble goggles.
Missouri man.
You see that?
What was that?
He looks like a car salesman with bubble goggles.
He does.
It's great.
Bourbon, Missouri was Omar Toft, so Missouri man. So there you have it. Well, we appreciate you folks. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe on Apple, Spotify, wherever you can listen to the podcast. Please leave a review, leave us a rating. Let us know what you think of the show. Be a friend, tell a friend about the show. Watch an IndyCar race on YouTube. Guess what? We've got 2 races now from this season. If you missed it, you can watch them on YouTube, which is really cool. I like that Fox does that. Fox and IndyCar do that. That's a huge help for a lot of race fans. We appreciate you folks. Next week on the show, not really sure who we will have on the show yet, but I think that's not even the Long Beach preview. We still have another week to go before Long Beach, but we're going to get there. We're going to get there, I promise you. So shout out everyone who listens, and we'll see you next week on Speed Street. Hey everyone, Connor Daly here. Please leave a like on this video if you did enjoy it, and also subscribe to the channel as well. That would be very helpful. Be a friend, tell a friend. Thank you so much for the support, and we'll see you on the next episode of Speed Street.